What about you, Benricky?
Yeah, I am as well. I mean, FLP, super interesting team. They've been playing together for quite some time. We got the Ron Paul, Nazem, and Zev playing this composition that I feel like was really popular on the North American ladder. At least Zev played it specifically a lot in the last season of Battle for Azeroth. And they were one of the highest teams on the ladder. So a lot of experience with this composition. Charlotte Phoenix, interestingly enough, going to be leading with the Rogue Mage Paladin. And normally, most teams have been opting to play RMP with the Priest variant, but they're going to be bringing in that Paladin. And let's see an aggressive start from them.
Oh, Ring of Frost gets shut down by Jamili, but he goes for the combustion opener immediately here. The blinding light does get trinketed here by the Ron Paul, so yeah, he's going to go ahead and respect that trade right away. But actually, that was on the blind from the Rogue as well there. So an even trade here, I would say. Nick also using his trinket. He's actually taking a lot of damage, dying to the Holy Paladin behind the pillar while he's trying to get that restuff, and now forced to do another setup here. Jamili looking for the polymorph, not going to be able to find it just yet. Trying to, oh, nice sap there by Nick actually onto the Ron Paul, but he does get Cyclone. Jamili now channeling that shifting power. Zev with beautiful off heals as well, and that's something about those feral druids. They got so many off heals. You gotta shut them down as well when you're going for these setups. Now the Rogue Mage, they're just gonna go ahead and reload that combustion, wait for those stun DRs, and then go again.
Full Cyclone on Corlick, Nick and a root, but no damage to be found. The entire team crowd controlled, but finally Chaos Bolt's flying through. That didn't even look like it scratched Nick. Nazem on that Destro Warlock, not feeling nearly as powerful, I think, moving on from Battle for Azeroth. We see Zev stunned up. They set up crowd control. Polymorph has been landed. Hammers down on Zev. 3 versus 1. Nazem in trouble. Trading out that Unending Resolve, Hellstone, Mortal Coil. Basically the entire defensive lineup of the Warlock blown out in one setup. And now Charlotte Phoenix look to retreat and set up again in the future, but they are being chased down by the Ron Paul and Zev looking for repentance. Nick looks to be the target. Only Cloak of Shadows remains, but Zev isn't attacking. He's actually just casting Cyclones. Now the Ron Paul in a stun. Nazem pre-ports away. Zev gets swapped to for a moment, but the Ron Paul is still in a blinding light. Nazem blinks in to try and fear with that Night Face Soul Shape. Zev manages to escape to safety. They survive crowd control, but this is combustion. Another polymorph slips through. How much damage can Jamili get out here? Nazem pre-demonic gateways while Nick is stunned up. Nazem with some nice preemptive movement here to avoid damage while his defensives are limited.
Very nice stuff here from the Warlock.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Nazem goes for fear once again. Right now, double Mortal Coil does come in. Jamili actually going for a hard cast Rune of Power, trying to get that damage out. Shifting power now, resetting some of those cooldowns. And then let's see, Bash now onto Corlick, stun onto Nick. Nick could be in a little bit of trouble. He uses the Gladiator's Medallion to break out of the stun. Just trying to slow down the damage, but he gets caught into a maim. Nazem, unfortunately, not able to really help him out. Going for a Chaos Bolt, but cannot find it. And now Ron Paul caught into a full blind. Nazem's the one that is getting attacked. Jamili right now with no combustion. Unfortunately, not huge damage here on Nazem, but still under pressure. The crowd control is not fading on Ron Paul. Polymorph out of the Ring of Frost. Jamili goes for the third DR. Polymorph. Is it going to get shut down? Zev's trying to back him up just a little bit, looking for a Cyclone. Finally, Ron Paul out of crowd control. Hopefully be able to top off Nazem, and now it's going to be up to FLP to try to get something going.
All right, the Ron Paul charges in.
That was the shadowy duel there as well from Nick coming out, but they managed to survive it without actually having to use anything right there. So pretty good stuff. And Nazem's going to have his Unending Resolve rotating back up in a minute, so they need to try to get something happening on the side of Charlotte Phoenix. But that was the Repentance now onto Corlick, full Death Coil here onto Nick. They have the stun, do they have the damage to back it up? Doesn't look like it. Nick going to be able to survive that one. And now I think they're going to look to try to take down Nazem here. They have one final setup before that Unending Resolve is going to rotate back up, and after that they're going to have to go ahead and force it all over again. Actually a swap here onto the Ron Paul, big damage with the combustion. Ron Paul trinkets, gets stunned on his trinket, and that was the Battlemaster there as well, so nice push there, going to force out the Paladin's trinket.
I think likely they're going to try and win with blind here in 40 seconds, and they should be able to live to that point. They have so many defensives, and Rogue Mage is so slippery. It's difficult for the Destro Warlock to actually pin them down long enough to get a kill. So Charlotte Phoenix are looking strong here in game number 1. It is up to FLP to get things going here. Infernal chasing Nick. Zev just poking in and out on the pillar, now stunning up Nick, but Jamili polys Nazem. He's not able to get any damage. Continuous polymorphs. You see Nick swapping again to the Paladin. Ron Paul trying to take him out. but not enough damage during the stun lock. Good peels from the Warlock, denying that swap once again. Now FLP need to get aggressive. Zev jumps in on top of Nick. The Rampal closes in on the left. Korlik line of sights the Repentance, but can't wrap around away from the Cyclone. He's in a full Cyclone. Nick gets stunned up. He's going to vanish at 50% health. They stun Korlik out of the Cyclone. Rampal, though, gets blinded with no way to escape other than committing that Divine Shield, which would be a pretty big investment, but he may need to. Nazem at 30%. Someone needs to trade a cooldown now. The Rampal bubbles, but Smoke Bomb line of sights him for a moment. Nazem at 10%. What is happening? The Rampal just needs to sacrifice on 1% health there. Barely surviving, but that's it. There's no medallion, there's no divine shield, there's no sacrifice. They could swap to any target at this point. Charlotte Phoenix, they can do whatever they want at this point in game 1 and win, I think.
Yeah, greed is not always good, and that greedy play unfortunately forced FLP to use every single defensive cooldown that they had. And like you said, Charlotte Phoenix, they can basically pick who they want to go after in this matchup. Looks like a full kidney shot on Ron Paul. They're just going to be going for Nazem. Jamili pulls out the combustion. He trinkets out of the stun. Zev now caught into a Dragon's Breath 3-on-1, and Nazem looks like he's going to get absolutely crushed. The seed does get dropped as well. The combustion from the Fire Mage and all the crowd control available to the Charlotte Phoenix, they were able to push through. And FLP looks like they will be going down in game number 1.
That was just crazy. They got the basically everything with that smoke bomb, and the Ron Paul and the Warlock, they just kind of lined each other while that smoke bomb was up, almost made him die. And of course, when you have to overlap that many defensives, that combustion is going to come in on the next setup and just close out the game immediately with that massive Fire Mage damage.
Jeez. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Supities, but it really didn't seem like Charlotte Phoenix was in trouble there at all. I mean, they all died. They all ended that game with quite a lot of cooldowns, like full health on all of them, and they almost made that first victory look easy for them.
I mean, I don't think it looked easy. I think it was easy. I feel like FLP, they need to figure something out, or this is going to be a 3-0. Overlapping those defensive cooldowns is definitely a mistake you can't make against Rogue Mage. They're trying to set up crowd control. Like, I like what Zev and the Rampal are doing. Both of them jump on Korlik. They both cast Cyclone and Repentance, but they just don't have enough damage. They get Korlik in crowd control. Nick gets stunned for 3 seconds. Doesn't really care. Comes out of the stun and then just walks away. It just seems like both these compositions have a similar play style, but Charlotte Phoenix with Rogue Mage is 3 times better at executing it with their classes. A Destro Warlock and a Feral trying to do what a Rogue and a Mage do. It's kind of like your budget. You got low budget on that comp, and you can't get enough damage out to be able to win the game, it seems, from that game 1. Maybe they'll surprise me in game 2, but if I had to guess, I feel like Charlotte Phoenix are going to walk away with this.
All right, yeah, game number 1 victory, Charlotte Phoenix against FLP. Let's look at the replay from that game number 1, see if we can learn anything here from Charlotte Phoenix's strategy against FLP.
Yeah, so the most important thing here is you have no cooldowns on the Paladin, no cooldowns on the Warlock. Zev is the only one who can save the game. And he gets polymorphed right now. He gets kicked as well. So they get the kidney shot, and then they get the setup here. Zev actually thinking he might be the target, sits in bear form for a second, and here he's going to start healing. Jamili immediately Dragon's Breaths him, and that damage there with the combustion is just crazy from that Fire Mage. Jamili also playing that Rune of Power, of course. So when he pops that combustion, he's going to get that extra 30% damage from the Rune. And yeah, as long as you prevent those big heals from the Feral, you're going to be able to secure the kill like that.
Certainly an interesting comp as well being played from FLP. Is this something that we may see other teams try and play as well, or is this just unique to this team, Venriki?
It's unique to this team. I would be shocked and amazed if we saw any more Destro Feral Paladins at this point. But like I said, these players, they really enjoy this composition. They played it a lot in the final season of Battle for Azeroth, and they did quite well with it. So there is lots of crowd control, there's lots of durability, but it just seems like the main problem with the composition right now, at least in this matchup, is Nazem has a really difficult time getting off damage. The nature of Fire Mage and Sub-Rogues is it's very hit and run. You go in, you do your go, you run away. You try to get a re-stealth, you try to just spam out crowd control, and there's never really a moment in the game where Nazem can actually get off a big Chaos Bolt that is scary, and that's really... I feel like that's the only time they're going to win the game, unless Zev just completely carries on damage. If Nazem isn't getting off those Chaos Bolts, Charlotte Phoenix is going to look like they did in game number 1, which was not under too much pressure.
All right, well, these players are already going to game number 2 here. Hopefully FLP can turn this around, tying it up against Charlotte Phoenix, but Charlotte Phoenix currently up 1-0 to 0.
Yeah, I feel like in general right now it's not that great to cast like damage. I feel like the classes that are doing well right now are things that can just immediately give you, a Fire Mage, LA Shaman. When you look at the casters, even Shadow Priest can just apply their dots instantaneously right now with some of their new talents. So I feel like those are the classes that really shine. And I think that's also why we're seeing more Affliction Warlocks compared to Destruction Warlocks, because you actually, if you're not casting, you're still at least like kind of contributing. Whereas with the Destro Warlock, it really feels like if you're not getting those big Chaos Bolts off, it feels like you're not actually going to be able to do too much there in the matchup.
I mean, the Ron Paul and Zev basically have a really big wheelbarrow that they're putting the Destro Warlock in, trying to carry him through this, I think. It's going to be really tough. And look at this opener right now from Charlotte Phoenix. Crowd control across the board. Paladin just gets picked out of nowhere. Charlotte Phoenix going to close this down 2-0. One more win, and they will be advancing. Yeah, Rogue Mage as a Paladin is very scary. If no one on your team does anything to help you, and Zev got caught out, I mean, it's basically game over at that point.
Boy, quick victory from Charlotte Phoenix on match point here. Pressure really, really on for FLP. They lose one more game. They are out of this tournament. Charlotte Phoenix just holding nothing back against this team here. What is left for FLP to even do at this point, Zika? And this is just not looking very good for them.
If you see combustion, you gotta just
someone has to shrink it.
Use your whole spellbook, basically, because look at Jamili's damage there. Not only did he get the combustion up, but he got a clean meteor there with the combustion without anybody stacking. So even if the Ron Paul trinkets there, chances are he's going to get stunned on his trinket and just die through it. But we do have the replay here, so let's watch it. So Nazem, obviously expecting to be the target, staying far away from his healer, because that's what you want to be doing as a sub rogue. He gets sapped, and his pet is just standing next to him, MIA, and they get the double stun here. Now, look, Ron Paul completely isolated, and that meteor just chunks him down. He trinketed, actually, but he didn't use his divine protection as well, so definitely a misplay there from the Ron Paul.
Yeah, that was.
But also, it's really hard. Like you gotta react very fast to that.
If he walled,
so
though,
we're watching it again.
No, wait. If he walled, I think he would have lived. Did he really not wall? I feel like
if he walls plus trinket battle masters, he does survive that without using his bubble, but he has to trade it immediately.
Did he get interrupted? Maybe. No, it wasn't interrupted.
So,
he could. It's just so fast that he didn't. Yeah.
It's just so fast. I mean, Fire Mage's burst is absolutely crazy right now. You can get off a lot of burst in a very short window, especially what Ziga was talking about. If you can get a clean meteor, that meteor with Ruin of Power, Combustion, everything the Fire Mage has available, it can hit 13, 14, 15,000. So if you're not immediately reacting, you're going to find yourself in a situation like that where you're going down without using your cooldowns. And it's relatable. Trust me, I've been there, but it's just it seems like in Shadowlands so far, if you're disrespecting the cooldowns, I mean, we saw it in the first series of the day as well with the Windwalker Monk of Aiden just taking down WizK in a few short seconds. If you were not respecting those cooldowns, you were not trading for those cooldowns, you can die in just a matter of seconds.
So is this Charlotte Phoenix strategy for game 3? They just try and like mow down Ron Paul again here, or are they going to switch it up a little bit, do you guys think?
I think they can do anything they want. I feel like this is a matchup that is kind of really easy for them at the moment. All these targets are amazing to hit as Rogue Mage. Paladin Healer, Destro Warlock, Feral Druid. I mean, these are notoriously specs that you would want to avoid Rogue Mage at all costs. So, not to mention just Destro Warlock not up to snuff really in terms of power. Like we've just been talking, instant damage is king at the moment. If you can do as much damage as a Chaos Bolt instantly, why would you want to sit there and cast Chaos Bolt for 2 seconds? You're kind of at a disadvantage. So it's going to be very surprising to me if FLP pull this off, but they definitely need to peel for their Paladin, trade some cooldowns early on, get ready for that combustion. And Nick Shadow steps in, gets a sap on Nazem. He's looking for the Feral Druid. Is he going to find him? Zev gets ready, soaks up the meteor. No, he jumps out of the meteor. Nazem takes a full meteor to the face, and they're not trading. What is going on? They proc the seed. They proc the seed. He sacks the seed. Seed's gonna live. Nazem's gonna res. Still, that's basically all the cooldowns gone in the first stun.
It just feels like a similar story to game number 2. They just didn't respect the damage I mean, it was relatively quick, but still, you got to be preemptively using stuff a little bit faster. Luckily, they had the insurance policy of that seed, and actually Charlotte Phoenix committed quite a bit offensively there. So Nick, no trinket right now, no vanish, might be a little bit susceptible. Zev looking for crowd control, he gets shut down. Jamila with a nice double Dragon's Breath, and it looks like they're just going to continue to go after Nazem right now. Ron Paul, he has his Divine Shield, but he just traded out a sacrifice. Nick could be in some trouble though. Korlik, what is he going to do? He gets caught into a repentance. Unfortunately, it does break. Did he trinket? No, it just broke. So super unfortunate there. FLP finally got some crowd control rolling, but it broke on Korlik, and now Charlotte Phoenix are looking like they're going to be able to strike back.
Yeah, and Jamila actually got completely shut down there in that setup, but look at this. Jamila now finally trying to get that polymorph. He gets immediately skull bashed there by the Feral Druid. Very nice CC chain, though, still going with the sap here onto the Ron Paul, but he does bubble and use that sacrifice there onto Nazem, so Nazem is going to survive there, but for how much longer is the question. Every single one of these setups are just forcing more and more cooldowns. Full Repentance secured. Korlik, preemptive sacrifice there onto Nick, gonna keep him alive. Korlik still has his trinket, still has his Divine Shield as well, so he can answer 2 more ghosts, and there's a full blind now. This could just be the game here. Jamila, if he lands that Ring of Frost onto Zev, it's going to be a 3v1. He gets the full sheep as well. Nazem teleporting away now. He needs to line of sight Nick at all costs here, and that's exactly what he's doing, just avoiding damage, avoiding the rogue as much as possible. And Nick, you should just stay in stealth now for about 20 seconds. I know it doesn't look like the right thing to do here, but just sit in stealth, wait for your DRs. I've been telling my rogues to do this for a long time, and there it is. They get the DRs back. Full sheep shot sheep here onto Nazem. Now they're going after the Ron Paul. They force out the trinket of Nazem there, and the Ron Paul is going to survive there with his sacrifice as well as his divine protection. But these swaps, they don't have much time left on the side of FLP.
So the Ron Paul actually is wearing that Protection Paladin Legendary. I feel like that's not even a bad move when you might be the primary target for Rogue Mage. It could save you on a setup, and if it does, then what target do they go after? So I think it's a good strategy from the Ron Paul. I'm curious to see if Charlotte Phoenix play around that. Likely they will. They'll just go after the Warlock instead. Nazem down to half. Smoke bomb, line of sighting the heels. Double blinding light. This could be it. It's match point. Nazem soul shapes to his team. Tries to break them out of crowd control. Ron Paul trinkets. Connects the sacrifice. Saves Nazem during that assault. Now Infernals come up in 30 seconds. Berserk comes up in 30 seconds. But who do they really go after? An ice block on the mage. Nick still has evasion. Cloak of Shadows. They're trying to force that right now on Nick. Zev tearing in. Does manage to pull the evasion right before those big cooldowns. So that is a point on the board, at least for FLP. Trying to show some signs of life. There's the stun. Ring of Frost. Nazem in trouble. Zev needs to help. Zev trying to move in, but gets stunned up. Nazem in a 3-on-1. He ports, but he ports into a Ring of Frost. Jamili goes for a repolymorph. Zev shuts him down, but now a Dragon's Breath to follow up. Is there any more crowd control? Another polymorph. Nazem still at half health. Zev trying to support regrowth after regrowth. The hybrid healing really the only strength of this composition at the moment. Enough to allow them to survive. Now Infernals are called in. Berserk is available. Chaos Bolts are flying. They need to get a kill during this time. Repentance on Korlik. Korlik decides to trinket and sacrifice, realizing, hey, these are the 3-minute timers. Let's make a trade. Zev was patient, held on to his Berserk, so he still does have an opportunity to take out Nick moving forward. But Nazem, no unending resolve, no sacrifice, no medallion. Shadow Dance coming up here shortly. They've got Cold Blood for a big cheap shot hit. Ron Paul gets stunned up. Zev maybe getting swapped to. No, they're going after Nazem again. Double Ring of Frost, doesn't find it. Jamili gets shut down by Nazem. Beautiful interrupt there. Mortal Coil for follow-up. Now the Ron Paul chasing Korlik with Repentance. Korlik doesn't line of sight it. Full Repentance. Zev needs to connect, but look how far away Nick is. Is Zev going to be able to get to Nick? He's trying to move to downtown. He lands the full maim stun. Nick gets bursted by a Chaos Bolt, but Korlik is out of crowd control now, freely healing. Nick recovers, and it looks like Nazem is on the back foot.
Ooh, Ron Paul now into a Hammer of Justice. Nazem immediately using that Demonic Circle to get away. He's been doing such a good job. Look at that gateway as well. Nick really struggling to connect here onto Nazem. Ron Paul eats all of that crowd control, and now FLP looking for crowd control of their own. That was a nice setup they had there. They got Nick's Cloak of Shadows. They got the trinket a lot there. Korlik doesn't have a trinket as well, so might have to actually use his Divine Shield here. Stun onto Nick. Jamili just spamming out the polymorphs, looking to peel for his rogue as much as he can, but Nick's getting low. Gets down to 20% health, the scariest moment of the game, and that's actually the Divine Shield from Korlik as well. So finally, FLP finding their footing in this match, and Charlotte Phoenix has been on the back foot for the last 30 seconds, minute in this matchup, but Combustion is available. There are some openings here. Ron Paul now into a polymorph. He still has his trinket. He still has his bubble. Cannot greet it. Kidney shot on Zev, and it looks like it will be the trinket sacrifice. They swapped to Ron Paul. They still have the damage. Can they take him down? They get the Divine Shield as well. Combustion and Nick's damage is absolutely crazy. They force out defensive cooldowns from Zev. They force out basically everything Ron Paul has at his disposal, and Charlotte Phoenix puts himself back in this game.
Yeah, that's basically, they're in a checkmate position now. Ron Paul, no cooldowns. Nozem, no cooldowns. Zeb, no cooldowns. Anyone they go for, if they get a clean setup, it's over. Then here we go. Double Ring of Frost being secured by Jamili. No, he doesn't get it in time. No, he does get the polymorph, though. And he does get the counterspell there onto Zeb as well. Nozem in a lot of trouble here. Nick is all over him. Do they have more crowd control? Jamili gets shut down. Zeb being super disruptive here on the Feral Druid. Cyclone Jamili as well. Nozem still extremely low here. Finally, the Divine Favor comes through, and that was a scary setup, but they do survive on the side of FLP, and now they have a chance to take something back here from Nick. Full kidney still low onto Ron Paul. Nice counterspell again onto Nozem. Nozem still in trouble here. Jamili is going to have his combustion as well for that next setup. Cheap shot onto the Ron Paul. There's the smoke bomb. Nick, do you have the duel? He's going for it. Big damage coming in here. Nice sheep here secured, and that surely is going to be the game. Zeb, what are you going to do to survive? Nothing. There it is. Big damage coming in. Zeb getting Dragon's Breath there. Can't keep him alive, and that is going to be game number 3 in favor of Charlotte Phoenix.
Yep, certainly a difficult matchup for FLP, but Charlotte Phoenix taking this victory home with a 3-0 moving forward in this lower bracket here. And I feel like their performance here, I mean, it was pretty solid against this team. You know, maybe they're not quite in the meta, so they had a little bit of an easier time, but what does this victory say for the rest of their time in this tournament, do you think, Venruk?